Well, everyone, we're only 2 weeks away from Ford Takeover. This is Sunday. Been doing a little bit on the car, as you're about to see. And next weekend is Father's Day weekend. I've got a couple shows, one Saturday and one Sunday, so I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to work on the car before then the weekend after that. It's loading it up on a Thursday and heading to Jackson, Tennessee. So here's what I got going on with these last few days. Hey, check it out. I got my first purchase from Fiddle Fab and got a couple of his bolt kits. Come 6 of them. They're for the Fenders, but I bought 3 sets, so 18 total. He makes these, and really cool. I didn't expect to get these little felt strips that have a hole punched out in the middle, and here you can see I got this one done. You can adhesive them down on the bottom of your washer here and protect your paint when you go to bolt them down. So let's see where all I'm using them. So obviously I put 3 on each of the fenders, so that's a total of 6. So that took up 1 package, and then I was able to drop them in, replace the ones on the corners, the ones on these brackets for your bumper support, also the top 2 on the hood latch support, and then there's 2 more, and then that side. So I used 2 full packages so far, and then 2 out of a 3rd package. So I do have 4 left over, and trying to find a spot to use those. Well, I did try to use them in the hood latch location. I also just double checked the sizes on the radiator support location, and then I looked back here on the backside for the hood supports, but in my case none of those were the same thread size or bolt size, so I'm not going to be able to use them there. This is an aftermarket hood, so I'm not sure if those are all factory bolt sizes that I have at this point, or if maybe on a factory hood they might work in those locations. I'm not sure of that, but for mine they did not. Well, I was cleaning up and cleaning off some stuff in the engine bay the other day, and for whatever reason I paid a little more attention to my belt and tensioner. You can see my arrow is not in the range section where it should be, which tells me my belt has either stretched, or I don't know, maybe it was too long from the beginning. I've never noticed it squealing or anything, but I don't really like how that looks. So this is an 84.5-inch belt. I have my power steering, I have air conditioning. I do not have the smog, the compressor, or the pulley you can put in its place. So I've bypassed that. That's why this is a shorter belt than stock. So this is what is on it, this Continental Elite Poly V, and they're 84.5 inches. What I found was another Continental, I think it's, may not be an Elite, I can't tell. It's 84, so it's a 1/2 inch shorter, which should pull that tensioner up a little bit. We'll see if that's enough. I saved in my Amazon cart, I did find an 83.5, so it'd be an inch shorter than this one. I just ordered one at a time though. We'll see if this one works. All right, and with the new belt on, you can see I'm way up in the range now. So that arrow right here was down here outside of the range, and now it's up here inside the range you want. So that 1/2 inch shorter belt did quite a bit of an adjustment and on the tension. And then I just double checked that it is inside all the grooves correctly and not hanging up on the outside edge or anything like that. Down in there, everything is where it's supposed to be. Cool. And I did take my old belt and wrapped it up, put it back in here, and I'm going to put it in the old Fox Aid kit, and we'll get a spot in here for that. So it's one other thing that can be in the back of the car in case a belt breaks. I'll have a spare that I know was working before. Working on replacing the striker on my doors. Go around to the other side here and show you. These are some of the parts that bug me because they've been painted when somebody painted this car in the past, and they shouldn't be body color. This has not worked out as easy as it should. So for one, when on the passenger side, I started there, took this old one off and put the new one on. I put a couple little marks with a Sharpie so I would know where to line everything up before I took the old one off. Lined it all up, put it back on. Sure enough, the door will shut and it'll latch, but when you try to open the door, it won't open. It doesn't spring unlocked. Whether you use the handle on the outside or the handle inside, you have to lift up on the handle and pull out on the door to try to get it to come out. Whereas, you know, normally it'll just spring out. But we'll not do that with that new Daniel Carpenter striker. The width of this black metal bar here is wider than the OEM stuff. I know I've heard people talk about it. I checked mine, it's the same. I don't know why that is causing the problem that I'm getting. It doesn't feel like it's binding up or getting stuck on anything. But sure enough, it's not working. And so then I thought, well, I'll use my factory bracket, but I'll use this nice new clean bolt and this new bushing. I can't get the bolt off of my OEM bracket. When I've tried screwing it out through this hole, and it's just tearing the threads up where don't know if I can really get it all the way out or not. So now I've taped up the bolt and the old bushing, and I'm going to paint the bracket and see how that comes out. Let's see how this looks after a couple coats. All right, so there I've just threw a shadow on it, but you can see I've got all the bracket stripped down, primed and painted, and now it's black like it's supposed to be instead of overspray white from when this car was painted. Got that done, and got the alignment, I think, pretty good. So you can see everything's lining up, I think, as best as it's gonna get. I took my cowl off, and what the heck's going on with that light? I took the cowl off and the wipers. I polishing everything and cleaning up the windshield real good down in those cracks and crevices. First off, on the hood and the top of the fenders, I took a couple passes with some scratch and swirl remover and got all that done, and then went back, cleaned everything off, and then went down the sides of the fenders, doors with some fresh sealant, and the only thing I got left to do is to actually wax it. And so I'm trying to get the waxing done this weekend. Next weekend my wife's out of town, so I won't be able to really do anything since I'll be watching the kid. And then I'll have one weekend after that before we actually leave for Ford Takeover. So I've got a little bit left today, and then one weekend to get everything ready to go. So as I was cleaning up the car, I realized that the antenna cover was about the worst looking thing on here now, since over the winter I redid all of the trim around the windows and all the weather stripping and the new cowl, which I've got over here. Everything's looking fresh except that little cover. It looked like it had several different layers of paint on it over the years from other people, and it wasn't very smooth. So I took it off, and I've been sanding it down and primering it and now painting it, and that will be one of the last little final touches before the car heads to Ford Takeover. And I found my seals for the new NPD trim covers. So let's get these put on. And first I'll clean off the surface here with a little alcohol wipe. There's not a certain side of the foam to worry about using, but you just got to look for one end that has this extra slit in it. It lines up with the end that has the wider opening here where your lever slides through. I'm going to use my headliner adhesive. I got plenty of it left and it'll do the job. So I'm going to mask off some of this so I can just get it sprayed on that surface right there. Let it tack up for a minute or two and then I'll get this in place. Okay, a couple of little coats on there. I'll take the paper off and let it tack up. And that's tacking up. So again, I'm just going to line up this edge with the extra slit in it, kind of center it. Hold just fine. Looks good. And as you can see, it's lined up good. Well, now that I've done all this work to all the new weather stripping and painting all the trim, this is just not gonna do. That has got scratches and some orange peel. And this looks terrible next to everything else that's all been redone. Let's take care of this stuff. Step one, let's mask off some of this glass so we don't scratch that up. And I'm going to start off with some 320 and then eventually get to some 600. Okay, I made about 6 passes with the 320, just doing, you know, angles one direction and then another direction, trying to stay on this surface and then do separately this surface where you got different angles, and then finally I just hit this curve along the front here and did the same thing with the 600. That looks pretty good. I don't see any gouges or deep scratches. So I've got everything masked off so that only the trim is showing. And now I'm going to wipe it down with my wax and tar remover and let it dry. And then I'm going to go with the SCM high build primer at first and just see if I need to do any more sanding. And then we'll go with the trim black. Well, I've let the primer sit for about an hour. That's what the can said. And now I'm gonna lay down some of the trim black. And here's 2 coats of the trim black. It's been setting up for about 5 minutes. And it's the next day. Looking over these parts, get the dust off of them. I think we've got a really good finish. Yeah, that'll match up with everything else. Now we're gonna flip them over and get the new NPD covers on them. Okay, I've put a piece of that 1/2-inch round foam tubing inside this driver's side seal, just like I did on the passenger side. That was in a past video when I was doing all the weather stripping for the T-tops. Had a little bit of a gap on this one as well, so hopefully that will fix it. I've got the new foam adhesived onto the new NPD covers. So we'll just open up the latch there, find the wide end, and push that over and down, and we'll get all of our screws lined up. Once you get it started over the handle, remember to put your little trim cap here over your lock cylinder, and then get it started up in this groove before you start to push it down all the way. Okay, the screws did line up just fine to the holes on the T-top, and the lever is working good. And got the trim piece around the lock cylinder. Everything is working as it should. And here's the final product, painted. You can see adding that foam took away the gap I had. Now I'm sure it'll still leak water, but there's no actual air gap between the glass and the weather stripping. I think I have got it the best I'm going to be able to do. Open it up, look from the inside. Now you can see my new caps, the new cover, the new cap there. Everything looks really good. I'm happy.